So you want to know what it's like to compete in the Shade Tree division at the Jack Daniels Cook-Off? You found the right video. Hey guys, this is Steve over at Cookout Coach, where we're all about trying to help you bring your barbecue to the next level. Now if that sounds like something you might need, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Today what we're going to be talking about is a little bit of competition barbecue. If you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you might know that my competition team, DQ Barbecue, got invited to go down to Lynchburg, Tennessee to compete in the Jack Daniels World Championship Barbecue Invitational in their Shade Tree contest. Now, the Shade Tree contest in Lynchburg is essentially like a backyard contest to any other KCBS event, except we also had to cook pork. So essentially, we were a full pro KCBS contest minus the brisket, which I'm okay with at this point because that's one less thing I had to practice. I found out about this through a buddy, Chris, who competes in another local team known as Brother Uncle Barbecue. If y'all remember my Weston video, I told you I was, I think, 2.2 points off winning that contest. We ended up with third. It was tight at the top, and the guy who won it was Chris and his brother-in-law from Brother Uncle. After I lost to those guys, I knew they were good. I decided that I wanted to go compete against them again, so I went to their group's Facebook page. I'll put a link to that Facebook page down below for Chris and them. I wanted to see where else they were going to be competing this year. Well, looking down there, I saw they had the Jack, and I had no idea the Jack had any sort of backyard or amateur division. So I hit up Chris and I asked him, and said, hey, I probably can't get into this because I assume I have to win my way in this year, but how do I get into it next year? And Chris kind of let me know if I wanted in, all I had to do was throw my name into the hat for a lottery draw, and that I could still get in this year. So we did that, and we were actually both fortunate enough to draw. So ever since round about the end of July, I suppose, I don't remember exactly, somewhere in there, we've been working towards heading to the Jack. Now, also, if you've been following my channel, you know that prior to the Jack, I've only ever competed in one contest ever, and that was my local one here at Weston, which had some good competition, but we're talking 14 teams as opposed to 42 teams. So once we got word, the preparation began. I started out by first making sure I had enough cookers to do the job. Now at Weston, just to do ribs and chicken, I brought my 26-inch kettle with a Slow & Sear XL and my Weber Smoky Mountain 22. I probably could have done the Jack on those two cookers again, but I was a little bit worried I wouldn't have enough real estate. So I checked the Facebook Marketplace, and lo and behold, I was lucky enough to find a Weber Smoky Mountain 22-inch used for $100, pretty close to where I grew up. So I jumped on that deal immediately and decided we were going to run twins at the Jack. And it was pretty funny too, because I was about this close to pulling the trigger on building an Ugly Drum Smoker. I follow Ugly Drum Smokers Texas, or Texas Smokers. I'll put a link in the iCard and a link down below. They make some fantastic drum smokers off of udsparts.com. You can do it pretty cheap, and they're great. But the reason I decided to go with the used Smoky Mountain as opposed to building a new drum was I knew how the Smoky Mountain behaved. I had one already. It just made sense to go with the Smoky Mountain. Also, about this time was when I got to go down and do my cook in Georgia and test out the Myron Mixon H2O and the Myron Mixon Gravity. And a little behind the scenes there, that Gravity smoker that I used there, that G33, it was a used one, and the Mixons had a pretty good price on it, and I really had a hard time not pulling the trigger on that to take that down to the Jack. But at the end of the day, I just decided, unless I knew I was going to do some catering, I didn't need a cooker of that size. While it was a good deal, it was still a hefty investment. Not saying we're not going to get a Gravity smoker, but I'm saying we're not going to get a Gravity smoker before the Jack. So we went ahead, we purchased the Smoky Mountain, so we knew we had a set of twins. Another decision I made early on in this process was what set of spices, seasonings, and sauces was I going to go with. At Weston, y'all remember I used Cosmos exclusively. Cosmo makes some great sauces and seasonings. If you're not familiar with Cosmo's channel, I'll put a link to him up here and down in the description below. Cosmo's hilarious, and his seasonings and sauces are the real deal. Now, I hadn't tried a whole lot of other competition grade sauces, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to give Heath Riles barbecue and grilling seasons and sauces a chance and try those out, because Heath's down from Olive Branch, Mississippi. He's a little closer to Lynchburg than Cosmo is. With regional barbecue being a thing, I thought it was worth it to give those a shot and try them out. And so I tried them and I liked them. I liked them a lot, actually. So we ended up running with those. In the future, I think I'm actually going to go with, just a little behind the scenes, I think in the future contests, I'm going to go with Cosmos on chicken and Heath on ribs. But I still use all Cosmos brines and injections. I just really like Cosmos brines and injections. They're great. Heath has a great pork injection too. But I really like Cosmos stuff, the way it blends up. It's really good stuff. Anyways, so for this one though, we were going all Heath, except for still with Cosmo on injections and brines. So at this point, I've got my cookers. I've got 2 Over Smoky Mountains, and I've also still got my 26-inch kettle. It's not ruled out yet. I've got my seasonings. I'm going to go with Heath Ryle stuff for all the sauces and rubs, and I'm going to go with Cosmos for all the injections. Now it comes down to, how do I cook competition pork? You know, if you want to figure out how to cook competition ribs and competition chicken, it's no problem. There's tutorials all over the internet. You can really even phone it in and sort of do it however you want to. As long as it tastes good, you're probably going to score decent. Competition pork is different though. There's so many muscle groups that make up that pork butt. You've got to know what you're doing to handle those. So I went ahead and Cosmo again has a great set of DVDs on how to cook all the competition meats. And the only reason I know this is because I didn't have time to go to a class. I didn't really have a connection with a team that, you know, was pro. In my area, there's no pro teams that I really know of. There's just a couple of amateur teams that I know of. So I pulled the trigger on Cosmo's DVDs, and they're great. They explain everything in depth, exactly how Cosmo does it. You know, he'll tell you. They show everything in there. It's great. I'm not saying I use exactly Cosmo's systems on everything, but at least now I had something to gauge against. I knew I had a baseline and I could work with it. So now let's start talking about sourcing the meat. I hit up Cheshire Pork, Heritage Farms Cheshire Pork down in North Carolina. Seem to be really great people, support local farmers, and the meat that they get is amazingly marbled from Heritage Hogs. I got a few racks of ribs, I got a few pork butts, I cooked them up, and they were really great. They were delicious. The only problem for me was the ribs were a little bit thin for me. Not that they were too thin to use, but the thicker the rib, the more room for error I had. And I don't know that I'll ever get to go back to the Jack, so I wanted to make sure I was giving myself every advantage I could. I've cooked their ribs. Their ribs are great. I still have some in my freezer, actually. But the room for error is so small on them, I didn't want to put myself in that corner. Their pork butts were amazing. The most porky flavor I've ever had in a pork butt. Their money muscles are a little bit small. Nothing you couldn't work with. At the end of the day, I just felt like I could cook more for the same amount of money and put more money muscle in the box. If you're a competition guy, that probably makes sense. If you're not a competition person, it just came down to what judges are expecting in the box. That money muscle, that sliced pork, is a big deal in the box. And at the time, I thought about maybe cooking like 4 or 5 pork butts and just filling the box with money muscle. And IBP pork from Sam's versus Heritage Farms Cheshire pork, the cost is way different. And now, if I had a big family get together, you bet your bottom dollar that I'd call those guys down in North Carolina and get some of that fantastic pork and, you know, cook it up special. But for this competition, I knew that I could inject and manipulate the flavor as I needed to. So after we tested that stuff, we decided we'd go with what we've been going with, which is IBP brand pork. Typically you get it from Sam's. Giant Eagle carries it. A lot of people carry it. It's pretty common. One thing I got to do with this cook that I didn't get to do with the cook in Weston was I got to get in a mock contest. And I want special thanks to Jody from the Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash. She runs our local contest here. She does a great job with it. And Sean from Red Valley Barbecue, the guy who came clear down from Pennsylvania. He's been to the Jack before. You know, both of them being here, being able to give me some insight. Because at that point, the pork I cooked for them was my 3rd attempt at competition pork. So I was really looking for all the pointers I could get. They'd both taken the judges class. They were both certified KCBS judges. That was invaluable. But the biggest thing for my mock cook was I learned I was overloading my Weber Smoky Mountains. I had too much on the top grates, and it slowed down my rib cook by an hour, it slowed down my pork cook by an hour, and it slowed down my chicken by half an hour. If I wouldn't have known that going into the jack, I would have been dead in the water. So after we did that cook, we got some great insight from my two judges. We knew where we were going, we had a direction. I had some issues, I knew how to fix them. And one of the fixes I was going to have was I was going to take both Smoky Mountains and the kettle as well. I was going to take overloading the grates out of the equation by just bringing a third grill. Or so I thought. So we're leaving out for the jack on Thursday morning early. So Wednesday afternoon rolls around, and I'm running around. I'm getting my chicken I had ordered. I'm getting my ribs, and I'm trying to find the pork I want. Now, I had a few options for pork all within an hour of me. I hit 2 of them. I thought I was going to have to hit the third. Never be afraid to ask your butcher what they have in the back, because luckily at the local Sam's, they pulled out some bigger pork butts for me. I was able to find what I needed. Came home, and it was time to trim. So my goal for Wednesday night was to get everything trimmed and vacuum sealed and the truck loaded. Well, you know, I'm a dad. I've got kids. I've got fatherly duty. What it broke down to was I got 16 chicken thighs trimmed and vacuum sealed. That was it. By that point, I needed to go load the truck. It was getting late. We had to get it packed up. So me and my brother go out to load the truck. And upon loading one Weber Smoky Mountain and looking at that truck, I knew that Weber kettle wasn't going to be able to come. Now, I took that a little harder than I should have, because in my head I had a plan, and the plan just fell apart right there. We had to pack a 4,000 watt generator too, because we were going to go ahead and rent a RV when we got down to Lynchburg. Actually, from Franklin. If you need to rent an RV down there, I think it's Nashville RV. I didn't get any kickback from this, but they were really cool to deal with. Actually, the guy that we rented it from was competing in the shade tree as well, so that was kind of hilarious. But anyways, we took our own generator, and that took up a lot of space. And we couldn't get in the Weber kettle. Also, we couldn't get in the cooler that I use as a holding cooler here. So I was pretty irate loading the truck up. I was trying to rework in my head how to do all this, and it started to get away from being a fun competition, which is what they are. And it was becoming like, oh, you know, this is worst case scenario, this, that, and the other, and I was distraught. I wasn't real proud of how I acted that night, but I was irate. Anyways, time moves on. We adapt and overcome. I had to pull out of my house at about 4 in the morning, so I was up at 3. I really wanted to video more of the trip than I did, but here's the one clip I did get. Hey guys, it's Steve over at Cookout Coach. It's 4 in the morning. We're getting ready to head to the jack. I'm gonna go stop by a local grocery store, pick up some greens from a turn-in boxes. I got the truck loaded up. It's full to the gills. I gotta pick up my brother and my dad. I don't even know how we're all gonna fit in here with their stuff, but we had some issues last night with trying to fit some stuff in, so I'll probably fill you on that later. But yeah, man, here we go. As you can see there, I was kind of wrecked. I hadn't slept a whole lot the whole week, from being excited about the jack to, you know, kids not sleeping. Just, it is what it is. Anyways, off we went. 9 hours later, we picked up an RV at, like I said, Nashville RV Rentals. And an hour after that, we were parked in Lynchburg. Now, we got down there on Thursday right around 4:15. And about half, or a little less than half the teams that showed up. I think I have a clip of that. If I do, I'll roll it in right here. So we got there. People are pulling up in 40-foot RVs and this, that, and the other. And, you know, it is what it is. I sort of got over the whole sticker shock thing in Weston when I had some people roll up on me with some very expensive pits. And we, you know, you just got to handle your business and you'll do fine. You work with what you know. Doesn't matter what the pit is. I tell people now, I've cooked on everything from a 22-inch Weber kettle, you know, cooking barbecue, to things as expensive as a Myron Mixon 72XC and H2O, and you know, gravities and Kamados, and what I find is that the way I cook barbecue tastes the same no matter what pit I cook on. Now, certain pits sure make the job a lot easier, but you know, you do you, and the rest will sort itself out. I knew we were practiced. I knew how to cook what we were cooking, but I mean, I saw everything there from a 33-inch or 36-inch H2O. There were so many stumps gravity feeds. I saw an ABS American Barbecue System rotisserie pit down there. I've never even seen one of those, especially not for competition. It seems like more of a commercial thing. To expensive Kamados, the big green eggs. There was a bunch of Primos down there. There was Langs. I didn't see a Jambo in the shade tree, but I'm not saying it wasn't there. I saw Pitmaker vaults. I'd never seen one of those in real life. It was kind of, just funny. The tech I was seeing in shade tree was tech you would see at most pro comps. It was impressive and borderline intimidating. What do you do? We were down there with our 2 Ever Smoky Mountains prepared to chew bubble gum and kick butt, and we purposely left our bubble gum at home. So the Jack was awesome. We got to do all the walking around. We got to see the town. We were in the parade. Got to see the Barbecue Pit Boys. They were gracious enough to take a picture with me. They were running around doing their thing down in Lynchburg. I didn't see any other big YouTubers. I saw a lot of pros. I saw Cosmo. Cosmo, I saw you. You and Tony were walking around giving stuff out when we were lined up to do a parade. I just missed you. I didn't want to holler at you then because you were talking to people, and I never found you. So I'll catch you next time. I'm sure we'll be at the same place sometime in the future. I'll catch you next time. So that was cool, though, because, there's Cosmo. And Cosmo's being Cosmo. He's just, being himself, I guess. Heath, Chris, Lilly were down there. Actually, I was in line for the parade, and the lady walks up and goes, "Will you sign my barrel head?" Because the Jack, it's real common to buy a barrel head and have all the team sign it. So I was like, sure. So I just start signing them. I'm not paying attention. I look at her. I'm like, she looks familiar. And I look down at her name tag, and it's Kimberly Clark from Clark Crew Barbecue. And I don't know why I said it like this, but I said, "I'm sorry. I didn't even realize who you were." And she looked at me kind of funny. I was like, "Well, I see you guys on TV and everything." And I was like, "Where are you guys even at? I've been looking for some of the other heavy hitters that I knew were there that I couldn't find them." She's like, "Oh, we're right over there." I said, "That's cool." So, Travis Clark and Clark Crew, if you guys look at your barrel, you've got DQ'd Barbecue signed on there, and that's this guy. So Friday night we get back from the parade, and I've got to trim up the pork butts that I didn't get trimmed on Wednesday night. No big deal. Pork butt trimming for competition isn't that big of a deal. It seems very wasteful, actually, but you know what you're going for. If you watch any Harry Sue's videos, if I've got any more iCards left, I'll put it up here. I did a hanging Chad, essentially trim on it, and got it injected up, got it back in the cooler, no big deal. We light off the first pit at about 1:30, I think, 1:45. Hook it up to the Barbecue Guru, let it come up to 275, and just let it roll. About 20 minutes before they're going to go on, I seasoned up the pork butts, threw them on, watched this pit stabilize. I went back to sleep for a little bit. Got up, checked on them every hour. Then a little later, I think it was around 7. I honestly don't remember. Pulled out spare ribs I didn't get trimmed on Wednesday night. Start trimming on them. It was spitting rain on us the whole time down there, but it wasn't terrible. So we're under a canopy and doing my thing, trimming up some ribs. Me and my brother getting them all taken care of and seasoned up. Get the second pit lit off. As I'm getting ready to put the ribs onto the second pit, I wanted it at 275, and it was hanging at about 255. And what can happen sometimes when you use pit temp controllers is the coals right where you're blowing in will ash over, and so the fire won't spread. And I knew what that was, so I opened the door on the Smoky Mountain and gave it a little stoke, and poof, it skyrocketed. It goes up to 320. Looking back now, it was a stupid choice, but I went ahead and put the ribs on anyways. I thought it would come down quicker. It stayed up at about 320 for about 20 minutes, which doesn't seem like a lot, and in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a ton. But here's what it did. If you've seen, man, I hope I have some more cards. If you've seen Heath Riles do his competition ribs on Malcolm Reed's channel, I'll put a link down in the description below as well. That's exactly what I did. I'd never gone seasoning that heavy until I did the practice cook, and I did it, and it made the most beautiful ribs I've ever made in my life. But there's a lot of sugar in the rubs that are going on there, and it's thick. So what that did, being up that high for that short amount of time, it darkened them up, so they weren't quite cherry red, which disappointed me some. But the bigger issue was, at 2.5 hours, that bark still hadn't set hard. And the only thing I can figure, if you have an opinion on it, go ahead and comment down below, but I brine those ribs in Cosmo's pork brine, or pork soak, I think is what he calls it. And I think being that hot that fast, I think it started trying to push more moisture out of the rib. And when it did that, it didn't give that bark a chance to set hard. So I made the decision, and looking back on it now, it might have been the wrong one, but I don't know what the other way would be like. So it's the one I made, was to go ahead and wrap them up at 220 mark with Heath's butter bath. And I knew it was going to happen, but I had to do it. And another hour or so later, they're probe tender. They're about 202 internal. They're feeling right. I pull them off to rest them, and it was like when I go to pull them out to glaze them, the bark had washed off to a great degree. And I knew that was going to happen, but I wanted to get those flavors from that butter bath in there. At the end of the day, I think that was a decision that cost me my final position, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Everything else ran very smoothly. The pork cook was the 4th time I cooked competition pork. It went the way I expected it. At 4 hours, I separated the money muscle from the main pork butt. They finished up, the pork finished up, threw it in the cooler. The ribs went in the cooler. They were done about a half an hour before they had to be turned in. Got the chicken done. Actually, I didn't get any footage because, you're down there, you're trying to win. You don't have time to get footage. But my buddy Greg over at BBQ TV put up this video. I gave him a shout out on my Facebook page earlier in the week. He actually caught some good footage of me doing some work on some chicken and some ribs, which is very cool. Greg and I have talked. We might actually get together and do some filming of a competition I do next year, if we can get schedules worked out. But that's going to be the only way I can really get great competition footage of what I do. But we're working on it. We're going to try to get it for you guys. But till then, if you want to see what I did, go check out that video. Also, I'm going to put it down in the description below. So we get chicken off. We get chicken done. Prepare the box. And I hate competition chicken. I hate it so much because it's hard to make it look right. And I wasn't feeling good when we were trimming it. But when I glazed them and was looking at them, felt really great about it. I got them in, got them put in the box, pulled the box out. I'll roll in a picture of the box right now. It ended up looking fantastic to me. I was so happy with that chicken box. I believe we got 6 good uniform pieces. Sure, it's not perfect. There are things I'd like to fix on it, but for a first box of the day, everything else was resting. Man, I thought we had it licked. We turn in our chicken. Get back, boom, first turn of the day done. Again, this is only my second competition. I'm still psyched about making turn-ins on time. Pull the ribs out, pull them out to glaze them. I see the rubs washed off, or the barks washed off, and I just died. I knew what that meant for me. I knew what that would cost me, but you got to keep rolling. So we glazed them. I take my 4 racks inside, start cutting them. The bane of my competition existence is trying to find racks of ribs with straight ribs that are the proper thickness. These ones were thick and heavy and beautiful, but the ribs weren't perfect. They weren't perfectly straight. So I'm running through the racks trying to find 6 bones that'll line up with each other that I can get good cuts on. I get that done, and I'll roll in the picture of the box here. It wasn't a bad looking box. It wasn't great, but more than that, I knew that flavor wasn't there. And my dad, my brother were with me, and Greg was there filming, and they were tasting them. They're like, "Oh no, they taste good." And I was like, "I know they taste good, but they don't taste as good as they could." And this is the one where it counts. So that kind of crushed me a little bit. But we turned it in, we got it in, and then it came down to pork. And I think I actually like competition pork. I find it less stressful than building a competition rib box, mainly because I haven't found somebody who can reliably get me perfectly straight ribs. I just kind of have to go luck of the draw at a Sam's or whatever. We built our competition pork box. I get it in at the beginning of the window, all turned in. It felt great to get it all turned in at the jack. and then we were just down to seeing where we leveled out. So at the end of the day, this is what mattered, right? How we turned out. There's nothing real exciting here. We finished, of 42 teams, 12th in chicken, 24th in ribs, and 18th in pork. They gave us our KCBS sheets at the end, and normally those tell you what you are overall, but this one didn't. So I wasn't feeling great anyways about the cook, and I didn't know how I was overall. So I'm sitting here wondering, I'm like, well, and here's the thing is you can never tell where you sit based on what you scored in categories, because just because you had one bump category, well, somebody else might have had a bump category or two bump categories, even though they took first in a single category. So you're never sure exactly where you sit. So I didn't get a single call. I knew I wasn't top 10 because they called those out. However, congratulations to Chris and them over at Brother Uncle. They finished 11th in chicken, which that's always my joke to him. At Weston, he finished 1, I finished 2 in chicken. He beat me by a point. At the Jack, he finished 11, I finished 12. He beat me by a point in chicken. One day I might get Chris in chicken. I don't know. Who knows? Then they finished 6th in ribs and 6th in pork. Great showing. They finished 4th overall. So congrats, guys. They're awesome. Whenever they decide to go pro, they're going to be taking a lot of names. But till then, they're just crushing all of us backyard amateurs. So I had to wait till the next day. We're packed up and rolling before KCBS's website updates. And if you're curious, I'll put a link down in the description. You can get the results from all KCBS contests on the website. I'll put a link for the Jack Shade Tree down below. We ended up finishing 12th overall, which, I'll take that for my second contest ever. The caliber of competition that we saw down there, I'll take it. Because of the teams that we beat, they included last year's grand champions from this event, the previous year's grand champion from this event, and the previous year's reserve grand champion from the event. So I'm not saying that to toot my horn. I'm saying that more to show you the quality of the competition down there is for real. Like, it's tight. So I finished 24th in ribs. My buddy finished 6th. 5 points separated us. That's 3. Well, it's tighter than you think, but mathematically it's hard to describe. But it's tough competition. And we finished 12th overall in our second competition ever out of 42. I feel okay about that. I definitely know where we can improve, but all in all, it was a pretty good cook. The mistake we made was obvious. It wasn't like I'm wondering what I did wrong. I know what we did wrong. So yeah, it was a good cook. So in summation, this is how I feel about the Jack. It was a 10-hour travel day one way. It was spitting down rain on us all day. In our area where people were pulling in those huge RVs, it was a mud pit. But it was a blast. Like, I don't know how to go compete with that level of competition any other way in the backyard. I would venture to say that backyard competition would rival a lot of pro competitions. It was amazing. The level of competency in every team there was through the roof. It was amazing. Everybody knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly how their cookers ran. They were turning in beautiful boxes. It was awesome. It was a level of competition that you really want to go and compete at. And if I get the chance, I'd love to go compete at it again. I think we did a pretty good job representing our state. I would have loved a top 10 finish, but we were the only team from West Virginia there. Again, 12th. I'll take it. I'll take that all day for now. All right, guys. So I'm gonna leave you with this. In case you're curious, and you don't want to click the link. This is how I scored. 169 point something in chicken, 167 point something in pork, and a 163 point something in ribs. I'd never had a pork score before. The rib score went up from the last time I competed. The chicken score came down some, but I scored a 176 in Weston, so that's kind of hard to improve on. 15 total points separated me from number 1. 5 total points would have gotten me to a 5th place finish. Like 2 points would have got me into the top 10. So it was tight. It was tight. It was a lot of fun. That pressure is what makes it fun. So that's it. That's my whole jack video. I wish I would have got some footage down there. I really wanted to, but due to some technical difficulties and being engrossed in the competition, I just didn't. Very sorry about that. Again, I'm trying to set up a thing with a buddy to try to get some better comp footage for you guys. So until then, the best I can do is tell you I'm an open book. If you have any questions about the jack or backyard competition barbecue, hit me up. I'll be glad to let you know. But I mean, yeah, hopefully I'll see one of you guys out there. But till next time, y'all take it easy.